102 កម្មវិធីអប់រំ1 2 3 115 116 117 118 119 120 121 122 123 124 125 126 127 128 129 130 131 132 133 134 135 136 137 138 139 140 141 142 143 144 145 146 147 148 149 150 151 152 153 154 155 156 157 158 159 160 161 162 163 164 165 166 167 168 169 170 171 172 173 174 175 176 177 178 179 180 181 182 183 184 185 186 187 188 189 190 191 192 193 194 195 196 197 198 199 100 105 110 111 112 113 114 115 116 117 118 119 120 121 122 123 124 125 126 127 128 129 130 131 132 133 134 135 136 137 138 139 140 141 142 143 144 145 146 147 148
นาทีปีเนซาปอดเมียน
120 នាទីពីអ្នកសារព័ត៌មានចែករំលែកពីបទពិសោធន៍និងបញ្ហាប្រឈមនានារបស់អ្នកសារព័ត៌មានពិសេសស្ត្រីជាអ្នកសារព័ត៌មាននៅកម្ពុជា120 នាទីពីអ្នកសារព័ត៌មានផលិតដោយ Visu FM 102 ឧបត្ថម្ភនិងគាំទ្រថវិកាដោយសមាគមអន្តរជាតិស្ត្រីធ្វើការផ្នែកវិទ្យុនិងទូរទស្សន៍ The International Association of Women in Radio and Television IAWRT សហការជាមួយមណ្ឌលសារព័ត៌មាននិងប្រព័ន្ធផ្សព្វផ្សាយអន្តរជាតិ JMIC របស់សាកលវិទ្យាល័យ Oslo Metropolitan ប្រទេស Norway តាមរយៈសមាគមស្ត្រីធ្វើការផ្នែកវិទ្យុនិងទូរទស្សន៍កម្ពុជា IAWRT Cambodia Chapter
My name is Sokunthy. I would like to pay my respect to all the listener and audience that listen from Phnom Penh as well as the direct live in some provinces include Kampong Cham, Svay Rieng and Bat Nambong provinces. Once again, my respect to all the listener and audience of the Facebook 102 and through the app. Today is Wednesday, 22nd October 2021. Our program 120 minutes from the journalist have come to meet the listener once again. This program we get the financial and sponsor support from the International Association of Women in Radio and Television IAWRT in collaboration with JMIC of Oslo Metropolitan, Norway, through IAWRT Cambodia Chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we have spent our 60 minutes for the live show from our program 120 minutes from the journalists that we discuss on the challenges facing by the women journalists with the presence of Professor Chai Supal, Professor of Media. And today, our program 120 minutes from the journalists will spend our last 60 minutes about the women journalists and employment in media. We have the presence of the young women journalists that come to join and share our perception with us. So, we are going to see who is the speaker. You might want to know our speaker, right? And if you have any comment or question, feel free to join our program through the telephone number 012-527-102, 015-720-1002, 097-8290-102.
120 នាទីពីអ្នកសារព័ត៌មាន120នាទីពីអាត់កំបាំងរបស់អ្នកសារព័ត៌មានដែលអ្នកមិនធ្លាប់បានដឹង 120 នាទីពីអ្នកសារព័ត៌មាន012 527 102 015 720 102 097 82 90 102 ទូរស័ព្ទចូលរួមក្នុងកម្មវិធីរបស់វិទ្យុ FM 102សួរសំណួរនិងមតិយោបល់ទាំងអស់គ្នាឬចូលរួមតាមរយៈទំព័រ Facebook វិទ្យុ FM 102ដែលមានឈ្មោះវិទ្យុជាអក្សរខ្មែរនិង FM 102ជាអក្សរឡាតាន
Ladies and gentlemen, now let's get back to 120 minutes from the journalist program. I think maybe the audience would like who is the young woman journalist that's coming to join with us today. Okay, let's listen to this clip for a while. She is a young woman in media. After we release, people will have to trust to release. trust that we don't have that disease. You have known her already. She worked for you. Ladies and gentlemen, all the audience and listener, I'm Nhek Srey I'm at the next bridge. So all the audience, people who listen to my 25, what do you think? How do you feel through this picture, through the video? Nhek Srey, the young woman journalist in Cambodia, FM 102 would like to take your attention to meet with Srey in my 25 media. So I think you have heard already about different sports that the audience have that already know that Srey, she is the director of my 25 provincial. How are you, Srey? How are you today? I'm good, thanks. We have been separated for a while. We work next to each other, but we have been away from each other because you have been working from home. Srey, can I ask you, how old are you? I'm 23. 23 this year. You are quite young. So I would like to know that you started to work for Thmai News. When was that? Thank you. First, ជំរាបសួរ to all the listener of FM 102. I will answer to Kunthi question. I started in Thmai News in 2016. That time I was the internship. I was the intern only, and then until now I have become the director. So 5 years for me to turn myself from the interns to I work in the morning, but I do the work in the afternoon. So I started to work when I study as my first year at university. So that means when you graduate high school, you started to work in the university in the subject of media, right? Yes. And after that, you started your internship with Thmai News, right? You separate the time for work and study. So the internship, you started from 2016. When did you become the director? I become the director in 2020. Yeah, it took me 4 years. 2016, I graduated high school in 2015. 2016, I was in year 1 of university. Why would I join the internship? I was the media student and I wanted to get a further skill. So I joined Cambodian Journalist Club, CCJ, Cambodian Journalist Cambodian Club for Journalists. I met with Professor Chai Supal. He was the speaker from yesterday. Dr. Deloitte Sok Lim, Professor Pan Bonna. So I joined that course, the short course for only 2 days. And then they asked me, I was quite young. I was just like 18 years old, and they asked me, why would I be interested in media sector? And they told me that it's okay, 4 years. After you graduate, you can come to work with me. But very lucky. I mean, a week after, they contacted me to practice writing the article and internship with them. Yeah, we really congratulate to your achievement, Srey. It's extraordinary. You were like studying and you were working, and by 2020 you've become the director. I can say that your knowledge, your experience that make the director of the institution certify and hand over the role to you. Thank you today. You got the title by the Prime Minister, Madam Thmai, right? Like your journalist. Let's see what are the questions from the audience. ជំរាបសួរ Soria. ជំរាបសួរ Kunthi and also ជំរាបសួរ Madam Thmai. Srey, your name is Srey, right? Okay, Srey Lek. I can call you Madam Thmai. Apologize, I'm just kidding. So I would like to ask Sister Srey Lek. When you do the job as the woman journalist, what are the challenge or problem for you? What when you try to get the news? What are your difficulties? Can you hear me? Okay. Yes, please. Second, I want to ask you that in order for you to write the article to avoid having any problem with your article, what can you do? I mean, how can you verify that this is the true information, this is the fake news, this is the true source of information, to make sure that you only provide the accurate news? For example, like the media in England, right? The Guardian to said that the Prime Minister had the passport of a different nationality. That was fake. I mean, so how can you verify for yourself? I think that for people who also take that information to release, let's say Mr. Srey, take it to release more further. Is it the fake information or is it the wrong information? And how can you know? I mean, in order to avoid that the information, the news that release and people keep spreading it from one to another, 100,000 of sharing, and it's not true. So I want to ask Srey Lek, how can you know that whether it's the fake news, the wrong information, it's the false information, and it's like and the information that someone else that bring that untrue information and spread it further. What are the difference? So for this point, what can the journalists do to avoid this? Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Surya. Srey Lek, would you like to answer to the question of Surya? You can do it now. Thank you for the question from Surya. In terms of the job as the journalist, he asked what are the difficulties. Of course, in any work, there are challenges, right? But in the job as the journalist, what are the challenges for us? Yes, of course, we have the challenge. We have a lot of role responsibility. We need to verify information, to verify whether is it the true information. I think it's like the question that you asked, the second question. The journalist, before starting to write your article, your news, you need to think about the source of information, whether is it reliable. You can make a phone call to ask relevant stakeholder or relevant people as well. For example, now is the context of COVID-19. Let's say one person, one citizen died of COVID-19 in his house. Is it true or not? Then we got that news. But the journalists need clarification from the health officer or local authority to put more reliability onto our news information, right? Sometimes it's hard to contact the source of information, right? I think, Sokunthy, you have the same experience. Sometimes the source of information do not reply to you. That make your article got stuck. You don't have enough support evidence, right? And the other challenge, the women journalists, they have a lot of work to do. And sometimes the incident happen at night time, and the women journalists need to join to attend it as well. It's so challenging. On the other hand, the mission, let's say sometimes we need to travel to the province. That is the challenge as well. Your next question about the fake information or untrue fake news or untrue news. I mean, in the market, we know there's a lot of fake, right? Counterfeit or fake, and there is the correction, right? there is in the news about the prime minister that have two nationality, but later on they make correction that they made mistake in their dissemination. So again, now this is the truth. They prove the truth. I think yesterday, Mr. Srey already asked that question to Professor Chaisapal, similar question. The professor answered to Srey as well. Focus that normally the journalists think that if they need to do the breaking news, right? They need to make it like immediately, make sure that they are the first one to release, and when they interview. And some source of information or some source they hide the truth, and that means you only get what they offer, right? And then when you release it, when you broadcast, I mean, you realize that it's wrong, it's a mistake. But there is a law. The Professor Chaisapal also mentioned that the law mentioned about this. There is the law. You can correct it. But one more thing, sister. He asked the question, how can we make sure we get reliable or true news to release to people? For the listener of 102 to understand, we know that currently social media is very popular. Many people get the information quickly. You ask that how to get reliable and true news. We need to see whether this institution, this media institution, how reliable is this? For example, FM 102, after you release it, and then the audience will have to think whether is this the reliable institution? Is this a reliable media or channel? So again, the audience, the listener, the reader will have to consider. Yeah, make sure that they get the news or information from the well-known source, from the well-known institution. Yes, the place that have like verification or good editing, verify the news, reliable. Of course, a lot of broadcasting on Facebook, and people just share from one to another, and they might not have the clear source of information. The other thing, I think the date is also important. Yeah, for example, in the case of COVID-19, it happened a couple months ago. They said about the spreading or the new cases of 1,000. And now they can see it's on a new feed of 102, and they realize that it's just happening. So again, people realize that and think, oh, it's a fake news. So again, they did not look at the date. So again, first find the reliable source, and next things, we need to think as well whether can people read it, how easy it is to read it, how reliable. Normally, when it is written by Thmai or 102, or when we post on the Facebook page or anything, I mean, people can check. We will need to make sure on the spelling, introduction, body, conclusion. So the way they write it can be like a very formative. That is reliable as well. Different from the one that is not well recognized. Thank you, Srey. On behalf of yourself as a journalist, what do you see in terms of the general situation of the women journalists, especially the young women journalists? For the current situation, if we compare it to a couple of years ago, I mean, when I first started to learn in media, my family was not happy. You are a daughter, you are a girl. How could you learn that sector, that skill? It's for men. They realized that there were a negative or bad impact in this sector. But currently, I would say for the last 5 years, the media sector have contributed a lot, especially the women journalists. Become the prioritized. women are not abandoned anymore. We can see that the current situation, the journalists get a lot of attention, and even amid the situation of COVID-19, but the journalists play a very important role. After Khmer New Year, there was a lot of lockdown, and let's see what happened with the journalists. Many people work from home, but still some of them went out to the incident and do the live show to inform the people, to let the people know what's happening. So amid COVID-19, the journalists were still working. They did not abandon their role in releasing information, and the women journalists do the same, right? We took turn. We try to kind of have to collect good news, to release, to inform people. So I think Srey, you realize that for the last 5 years the situation have improved, right? Yes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for our program 120 minutes. We discuss about women journalists and employment opportunity in media. As you already know, Nhek Srey is the director of 25 provinces news. And now if you have any question, feel free to call her. We have 3 different lines: 102 52 7 102, 015 720 102, 097 82 90 102.
120 នាទីពីអ្នកសារព័ត៌មានពីបទពិសោធន៍និងបញ្ហាទាំងឡាយរបស់អ្នកសារព័ត៌មានពិសេសអ្នកសារព័ត៌មានជាស្ត្រី
ស្ដាប់វិទ្យុ FM 102 ទូរស័ព្ទមកលេខ 012 527 102 015 720 102 និង 097 82 90 102 ចូលរួមក្នុងកម្មវិធី 120 នាទីពីអ្នកសារព័ត៌មានសួរសំណួរនិងមតិយោបល់ទាំងអស់គ្នាឬចូលរួមតាមរយៈទំព័រ Facebook វិទ្យុ FM 102 ដែលមានឈ្មោះវិទ្យុជាអក្សរខ្មែរនិង FM 102 ជាអក្សរឡាតាំង
So now we are going to meet the listener once again. ជំរាបសួរ Auntie Kane from Takau province. ជំរាបសួរ Kunthi and the speaker Srey, right? Yes, Srey. You are the director, right? How are you today? Thank you, Auntie. I'm good, thank you. The question that I prepare, I think Mr. Soriya asked my question already. I prepared it since yesterday. I was late to get it. Now I had one more question. I have one more question. I want to ask lady director. For example, there is the traffic accident. The victim is very serious. Some die, some nearly dead. And then the traffic police coming and measure the crime scene. And it have been reported to the journalist. And the relative of the victim haven't done any protest or make any complaint at all. They were busy with like treatment or the funeral. And let's say the perpetrator is someone like wealthy. Someone rich, and then when it is reported to the journalist started to write about it, and it was released. I mean, in TV, in radio about that victim, the incident, and it's released something fake, something wrong, that the victim made a mistake in that incident. So we have people dead, people suffering, but nobody have time to complain anything. And the people, the public or the mass, just release that. Why would someone release such information and blame the victim? So for you, what would you do if your staff release such news? And maybe some the way they write it or the word they use is not that accurate, and make the public have a misunderstanding. So what would you do? That's all for my question. Thank you, Auntie Kane. Thank you. Let's meet another audience. Srey from Kampong Cham province. ជំរាបសួរ Sister Srey ជំរាបសួរ Sister Sokunthy. How are you? I'm good, thanks. Today I have a chance to meet my idol. Meet my idol once again. Srey, please. Okay. Thank you, Sister Sokunthy. First, ជំរាបសួរ to our speaker. Yesterday I listened as well, and now I get in myself because I still have question. Yesterday, Sister Sokunthy, I think you got my question. Your last question was mine, but now I have one more question. I want to ask whether should the woman become the journalist? That is my first question. Second question, I want to ask when there is no attention or ignoring a woman, a journalist, would it affect the prosperity, freedom, and economy of the women who are in that job or not? Third question, when the women journalists are suffering from like abuse on their rights or other harm or other danger causes on her, relevant ministry, what are their role? What can they do? My last question, I want to know that when you go to get the news, that news, the journalist play a role as the journalist. Do you decide by yourself that you need to release it immediately or it have to go through your boss? If your boss said no, you are the journalist, you would not dare to release it, right? So again, you are the journalist. You are not like strongly determined that this is the reality, this is the truth, this is very accurate. Do you still need to wait for your boss until your boss say yes that you can release it, or you can release it by yourself within the period of time that you are collecting that news? Can you do it? Okay, thank you. We have 4 questions from Srey. A lot of questions. Srey, can you make it short answer to Auntie Kane first, and then you can go to Srey. Thank you to Auntie Kane. The question about road accident. She gave the example that there are 2 sides, like the one who caused it and the victim, the driver and the victim. So as I am the director, when the colleague brings that news, what do I need to do? On behalf of the director or editor, we need to check the source of information, especially the response or explanation of expertise of the expert. I mean, if we can get more sources of information related to the driver, we can also check with the police who make the record about the incident place. Like yesterday, you mentioned when we ask the question to the authority, to the expertise, if we don't write what they say, it's our fault, right? Because this is the information they provided to us. The journalists will have to write exactly. We'll have to write, refer to what they provided to you. This is the source, right? They are the experts. They are the authority. What can we do? We just have to depend on their information. Yeah? And there is something behind it. And we are the journalists. We always depend on the expert, right? The authority that conduct the intervention. We get information from them. That answer to Auntie Kane's question. And now for Srey's question, the woman journalist. Should the woman become the journalist? This is a really good question. because in the mindset of Khmer people, they don't want the woman to do that job. They think that this is dangerous. There is a lot of threats, can be threat to death. It's happening. Now, as to myself, right? Yeah, I'm the journalist. Of course, Srey, you are the young journalist. You are only 23. And of course, I started since I was 18. So, answer to this, I would say, yes, women should become the journalists. In different sectors, women are there. Why not media? Why not journalists? We should join it. We will get opportunity. We get a lot of knowledge. We got skill. Yes, of course. And mainly depend on your favorite, right? If you like it. I mean, yeah, it depends. If you like it, you need to be patient. You need to work under the sun, under the storm. And especially when we try to get the news, when there is demonstration, strike, riot, and in the context of COVID, right? It's quite risky. But a woman still have confidence to do it, right? So again, it depends. If you like it, if you have confidence, if you want it, you need to overcome all those obstacles. Yeah, even with that high risk. I think in the Khmer wording, we said you have to be like strong. We have to be like very patient. Sometimes you cannot contact the source of information, and you feel like I gave up. I don't want to be journalist anymore. But overcome it. Okay, thank you. Now, second question. Ignorance or less attention on women journalists. What could be the impact of this? Thank you. In terms of ignorance on the women journalists, of course, when we work in any sector, we need encouragement. We need appreciation, right? If you don't pay attention, if we don't pay attention into this sector, how many women journalists can we have? I mean, how many women would want to do this job? Again, we need to value them. We need to give them opportunity, encourage them to work more and more in this sector. We need to do it. Thank you. Next question. When the women journalists face the harassment, the threatening, assaults or harassment, abuse. So, is there any agency or ministry, authority, institution that can support, can assist in this? So again, the question about the relevant ministry, what would be their intervention when there is abuse or harassment? Of course, for women journalists, when they suffer from abuse, the relevant ministry, Ministry of Information, they have the expert team that receive complaint from the journalists. So I think Ministry of Information, Ministry of Women Affairs, they also have department on the media. So they also take action into this issue. They can provide intervention and solve the problem when the journalists face. Ministry of Information also have the lawyer, right, to provide a free service to the journalists. So of course there are different ministry agency that provide support to the journalists. The last question for you, for the journalists, when you see that this is a good news, how can you decide? Should you release it, or you still need to go through your editor, your boss, someone to check on your article? Srey, what is your experience? Yes, sister, for me, when we get the news, you see that it's happening, but the journalists, we are going to release it, but to add more like let's say reliability, credibility to that news, and to defend, to protect ourselves, to stay closely with the source, verify with local authority, the expert. You need to verify it, and then you bring in their information, their evidence to release. There is no problem. But if you have enough of this, then the boss will need to check. But no matter it's a small or big one, you really need to go through the chief editor and the director to ensure that it's safe for yourself and the institution. So, Madam Chiesun Manai, the directress of FM 102, always mentioned that more eyes are better. Yes, of course. So more verification, more checking to make sure that news is really true. It's not fake and have been go through verification. If we give a lot of freedom to the journalists, maybe there could be the gaps, right? And the chief of editor might not know. They said, I don't know. I don't give any permission. I did not approve for this to be released. So if you release by yourself, I mean, you have to take responsible for it. Yeah, of course, to release it on the web page or our channel, then they are the one who take responsible. So they need to check. Okay, after Srey Kampong Cham, now we meet with Mr. Piseh. You are in Phnom Penh, right? ជំរាបសួរ ពិសេស ជំរាបសួរ the young niece. I think you are maybe the same age as my niece. Let me call you niece. I have listened to your conversation. My question is very easy. I want to ask currently the employment in media. Are there many like opportunity for employment in media for women? And are you worried when you see that like the government started to make a restriction on the media sector? And I can see that the activists, some activists, after they released the news, then the government said it is illegal. So as you are the journalist, do you have any worried or concern? Consider this. That is my second question. The third question, for the media in our country, when can we have the like really reliable news? I mean the news which without any like falsifying by someone, and because people tend to like troll it or spread it quickly and add more burden, add more problem onto that release news. Let's say the news or a problem between the spouse in the family, and someone bring it and troll and just play around in it. So what do you think in terms of the profession or career of the journalist, and what can we do to correct that problem, to change those people not to like play around or having fun with such news, because that's poison the society. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Visay. Thank you. Okay, Srey, please answer to the question, Mr. Visay, about the opportunity for women journalists, especially the young one like you. Are there plenty? Okay, answer to your first question. Currently, the employment opportunity for women in media is plenty. Many different media institutions need to have the woman, the young one, with if you have the skill, the knowledge and confidence, and you like it. I mean, there are plenty of place you can apply, and you will receive further training when you join them. It's not that they just use the journalists without any training. I can see that there are plenty of employment. If you want to become the professional journalist, of course there are opportunities. Next question: do you have any concern as you are the journalist? Because when sometimes you hear that the government started to set restriction on the journalists, on the media, we heard that there was the fake news, the unreliable news. So they set the restriction. Do you have concern? Yes. As I am also the journalist, but we are the professional media institution. We congratulate when they set restriction and eradicate the fake news. We are happy that they take action because sometimes many things occur in the society. For example, related to the last question, there are so many journalists. They poison the society, but when the government set the restriction on the releasing of the fake news, that will contribute and make the professional one, the responsible journalist to get a chance to release the truth, the good information or news to the people, right? Yeah, like we mentioned, how to make the good news release in our country. If we are able to get rid of the fake one, like the bad journalists, that will be good. Yes, one more question. Sometimes the spouse only have problem on one thing, but people bring it and troll it, play around and add more, exaggerate. So the even that small thing, it causes chaotic in the society. It causes a lot of problem. Something useful for the society that should be talked, should be released. Why would you just bring in something that spoil the society and make the people lost their reputation because of your trolling? Okay, thank you. I think you answered to all the questions of Vises. Oh, one more, sister. He asked one more question. I think Uncle Vises might see that there are so many journalists. If they have just one smartphone, then they like it from the incident place. So what can the relevant ministry do? I think the relevant ministry run a lot of workshop dissemination to try to address that problem. But the point is that would those people participate? With one microphone, with one smartphone, then you just lie from anywhere. And the audience just think that this is the professional journalist. But they not really. Yeah, can the professional one would just lie and use that bad word on the street and like for you, Kunthi, right? Before you speak in any program, you prepare, precautious, you be careful, right? Because you are professional. Yes, of course, even Thmai news, we check the spelling, we use the dictionary to verify the spelling, the format of our writing. So again, yes, you need to speak, you need to write the right language. And how to make the news in Cambodian to become good like others. And to make them good unless they contribute, they participate with us and improve it all together. If they don't join, we still have problem. Thank you. We have 9 more minutes. Now meet Mr. Soriya one more time. Hello, Chumrip Su, Kunthi and Sister Srey again. I think it's really good, Srey. I want to ask you, as you are the directress, before you let the journalist release the news, what do you check? Do you only check whether that source of information is reliable? Do you check the spelling, the writing as well? Because I noticed that many journalists that use the wrong spelling, they don't write properly. So Srey, if you know, can you have to correct it? Like the spelling for the like plate for motor or car. They write it in the wrong way. They need to understand the difference between the new term for the sign or plate. This is different. The two terms for plate or sign. If it is the small plate, the small one, or it is the big one. And we have the language that we borrow from French language. Refer to a sign or big billboard. It's not the plate, right? Yeah. So between these two terms, they are different, and the shape can be triangle, round, square, like the plate for motor, for car. This is different spelling. But the sign for KTV, for the barber shop, it's different. And I noticed that the journalists do not write it correctly. That's why it's affect badly on the literature, on the value of Khmer literature. For you, do you check this from your colleague? Because that affect the value of our literature and culture. And after a while, people just believe that we copy from Thailand. It's not. So, Srey, do you check this? The term of the spelling, the word, they use it wrong all the time. And the one who read is going to read it according to what you write. So again, that affect the education sector. I mean, a lot of wrong things going on. Thank you, Mr. Surya. Thank you. ជំរាបលា Surya. Srey, you can make it short. Yes, that's a good question. I think as Uncall mentioned that as I am the directress, should I check on the spelling? Yes, it is very important, right? Yeah. You are working on the media. In electronic media, I mean spelling is very important. They start with the title, right? So every headline, title, I mean from the beginning until the last word, the writer themselves have to verify or check the spelling, and then the editor will do it one more time. Like he mentioned, sometimes it's wrong spelling. There are plenty of words in Khmer and difficult to very difficult for spelling, and sometimes people do not pronounce or spell it correctly. So when they this will contribute a lot to promote our literature and culture, because the audience, the reader, they are learning from the journalist, right? They read your article, they see it, they learn from it. So as you are the director or the editor or the journalist, you need to make sure and double check your spelling. The editor also check over it, because we release it. It's with our name, right? This is Srey News. Why would we read her work? She make mistake. One paragraph, 3 spelling problem, 4 spelling problem. No one want to read, right? You can't even write that word. How can we rely? How can we trust on your news? So again, along with your question, of course, checking on spelling, writing is really crucial. And you may say that the director already checked it, but when it released, there is still mistake. Yes, of course, there are many different articles, maybe 1 or 2 wrong spelling, but when people comment, and then we can change. When people go in and make a comment or feedback, we change it. Okay, thank you. We almost run out of time. We're not going to meet more listener or phone call. Let's just continue with Srey. Srey, do you see that currently the women media have the women journalists have it increased or decreased? I think currently it has increased. The number of the female student at university as well. Practically in Cambodia, there are different institutions that train or teach media. In Royal University of Phnom Penh, DMC, second Cambodia University, Panyasa University. So we can see that those educational institutions provide the course, and there are women. Like at my time, I mean, when I was at the university, more women than men in the class. So again, we ask about in the real work. So many women at class, and now let's see in the real work. 5 years ago, when I started with my only 3 women journalists. One is Khmer Islam, the other is Khmer. But after 5 years, I can see, like Kunthy, you are here, right? Next door to me, you can see more women, and young women. Yeah, we are young women working here, and when they come and join this, they got a lot of benefit. They don't just get a payment, but they gain knowledge from day to day through their work. Okay, one last question to you. For the relevant line ministry or institution, should there be any reward, encouragement to the women journalists, especially the young one, to give them like opportunity to start their work, or while they are fulfilling their work or their task? What do you think, Srey? Should there be encouragement? Yes, that is a good question. different line ministry or institution should appreciate or encourage the women college or journalists. Again, we do not discriminate, right? We don't just promote or encourage women, but we need to think that women can have the same capacity as men, right? Because we don't just think that, okay, the big political men, sport men. So where are the women? Of course, women can do the same things. It's not just economy, tourism, education, politics. I mean, the presence of women journalists, they should be anywhere. They can contribute, and we can also encourage them when they start to work with us. For example, we know that there are challenges, difficulty if they are young, and we do not encourage them, do not spotlight them. Do they have any motivation to continue? Like you, Kunthi, you work for that long time, right? If without encouragement, you might quit and go somewhere else, right? So we need to have this to keep them. And to me, when I started as the intern, without the encouragement from my leader, could I get this opportunity? Maybe after 3 months of internship, then I'm gone, right? So again, opportunity for me from the intern become the journalist, from the journalist to be the head of department and become the director. So within that time, without encouragement, without opportunity provided to me, maybe the young woman journalist cannot be progressive, right? So, and why? Why do we need to do it? Why? For what? Yes, of course, to make the institution having progress. If the staff working unhappily, how can you make progress? Yeah, how can you if the staff are not happy with it, will you be dedicated to your work? Will you sacrifice to make a good work, right? So when we got skill, we got enough knowledge and skill, we have good reputation, and we have more and more confidence to do the work. Let's say when I met with the Prime Minister, the woman journalist, the young one, only me that stood up and asked the question among 5 of them. 4 were men. I was the only woman. It was in 2020, right? I was 22 years old. The youngest stood up and asked the Prime Minister. So it's about the confidence. I stood up and asked the head of the government that as for us, the journalists, we have authority to interview from the beggar up to the Prime Minister. And how can it happen? Because of encouragement from people around that encourage me. If I'm scared, I could not do it. If I get the opportunity, I could ask the Prime Minister. Next time, I will ask the Minister. I ask everyone. So, for me, I think that when you get the opportunity, like the young women journalists, you can say now there are many of them at the university, right? They are just like the bamboo shoot, right? And soon, like myself, right? All of us get older, we will retire. And you are the younger one. You will continue. You will inherit it from us. So, inherit from us, men and women all together. You continue to work together to help our society, the society with the true reliable news. Thank you so much, Srey. We ran out of time. Let's have the short recommendation from you on the our topic, women journalists and employment opportunity in media. Thank you for the topic of women journalists and employment opportunity in media. For myself, I always encourage the women and the young women that graduate from high school, if they love it, if they have their favorite or love the media, I think they should jump into it. They should study it to get more knowledge in here. I mean, for everything that occur in society, economy, health, agriculture, you learn everything. Especially the journalists have a lot of opportunity. they have broad knowledge. They have a long legs, I would say, right? They travel. If you work in any sector, you can travel to the 25 provinces of Cambodia. If you have a foreign language skill as well, you can travel overseas. Like myself, I work in Thmai News. Last year, because of COVID, the entire institution could not travel. But practically in our institution every year, there are staff that go overseas. And I have been to Thailand, Laos, and China as well. So I encourage them to look longer, to have a longer perspective. And for the young women to have more opportunity. Thank you, Srey. Thank you, because we ran out of time. Thank you so much for spending time to become the speaker, our guest speaker today. Thank to the listener and all the audience that take your valuable time. And thank for people who make the call into our program to us as well. Our program, 120 minutes from the journalist, has come to the end. We are going to finish this program today. Because we only have 120 minutes. Myself, Sokunthy and Srey and the team would like to say goodbye. Chum Riep Lia. Thank you.